A very good afternoon to you. You're welcome to our program on TV, Africa Discourse. My name is Evan Sunokugi. Today we are going to Ghana. Yes, when we say we're going to Ghana, of course, we're going to be looking at the just concluded election and see the reason why the incumbent lost in the election. One thing that a lot of persons are so interested in. And perhaps it seems to be one way that international politics is going these days. Talking about incumbents losing in election. We had it in UK. We saw it in the United States of America, incumbent losing. We also saw it in similar one happened in France recently. Incumbent lost their election, and of course it's happening in Africa this time in Ghana. Can it ever happen in Nigeria? Except sometime in 2015. When we had the former president talking about Goodluck Jonathan losing as an incumbent to his rival. So ever since then, we've never had it in Nigeria. Maybe one day people will have explanation to all this. Well, to discuss all this this afternoon, we are so privileged to have Professor Professor Victor Igbenedion. He's of the Vocational and Technical Education Department, University of Benin. So welcome to this program, Africa Discuss.
Thank you very much.
And also, too, we have Mr. Frank Ehiosu, who's an author and, of course, a public affairs analyst. He's going to be joining us virtually from Benin here. So when we have him on, definitely we're going to let you have his statement as far as the election is concerned. Then also, too, ITV's correspondent is, in Ghana, in the city of Accra in Ghana, talking about Mr. Emmanuel Akpololoho. He's going to be giving us a first-hand information and letting us to feel how the election went in Ghana a few days ago. Then also, he made some reports, some videos, of which we're going to be letting you see as a kind of a rollback drop so that you further understand how it went in Ghana some few days ago. Now, I will just read some of the excerpts that we have here, talking about Ghana's election, where we read that Ghana's ruling New Patriotic Party candidate, yes, Ghana New Patriotic Party candidate, talking about Vice President Mohamudu Bawumia, considered defeat to former President John Mahama in the country's presidential election on Sunday. Then we're told that after failing to overcome widespread frustration over the struggling economy, then also the defeats in Saturday's election marked the end of 2 terms in power for the NPP under President Nana Akufo-Addo, and characterized by Ghana's worst economic crisis in years, and also to high inflation and debt default. The people of Ghana have spoken, and they have voted for change at this time. We respect this with all humility, and that comes from the outgoing president now, talking about Bawumia, who conceded to defeat and conceding to the defeat that he experienced. Then Bawumia confirmed that he had called his opponent, Mahama, that's the National Democratic Congress candidate and the former president, to congratulate him with the blaring horns and cheering. And of course, we understand that Mahama supporters had already begun gathering to celebrate outside the party's campaign headquarters in Accra. And that's, all that we can read here and there as far as the election in Ghana is concerned. The election was done on Sunday, and a few hours into Monday, the results started trickling in. And of course, the electoral body there announced the results and the incumbent losing that election. Now, Professor Victor Igbenedion, we are following the trajectory of what seems to be recent political outcomes in world politics, incumbents, losing elections. So let's start from there. It happened in the UK that brought Keir Starmer into power. There was also it in the United States of America that brought Donald Trump back into power at the expense of Joe Biden. Then also we saw it in France, whereby Emmanuel Macron had to regret the outcome of the just concluded election in France. Now, what would you say is readily responsible for the outcome of the defeats that incumbents are having across these nations?
Well, one reason I will give is that, we are going through economic turmoil. The whole world is going through economic turmoil. And the easiest way is to try to change the government to see whether there will be a reprieve, so to speak. If we change this government, maybe things can get better for us. Again, it has to do with enlightenment as far as the global phenomenon is concerned. But when we take it back home to Africa, we see that there's significant rot in the Ghanaian government. You know, if you take it from where Akufo-Addo took over, this new president lifted Ghana so well to a point that there were forces to reckon with in the whole continent and outside the continent. But this tenure of Addo did not yield anything positive. And the Ghanaians were now going through trauma. Don't forget that Ghanaians are very sensitive because of what they went through in the past. So they have a discerning ability to know that this government is favoring us and this other government is not favoring us. And they can use their trump card to remove any government that is not favoring them. So to me, it's very refreshing, very, very refreshing that this kind of thing is happening in Africa. You cannot rule out the possibility of incentive by the ruling government to the electorate. But the electorate, they seem to be so enlightened and determined to where they are going. Say, this government, I overheard one of them say, this government, they will never smell power again. So it's a new development which should be encouraged. When a government is not doing well, it should be voted out. That's the essence of the democracy that we are preaching about. A government that is not doing well should be voted out. And that is where, as we were saying at the beginning, that's one kind of problem we are having on this side, on our side here in Nigeria. The electoral process in Ghana was not compromised. If it were, we will not get this kind of result. The people were not muzzled to say, you have to vote this way, you have to vote this way. The campaign were not cantankerous. Campaign were moving smoothly. And the people took their mandate and voted at the government. That's the kind of thing that we should encourage in Africa.
Okay. All right. We need to emphasize this now, that the result of the election has actually not been declared. But what we have so far is that the NDC spokesman, Samin Gahamifi, told reporters that the party's internal review of results showed that Mahama won 56.3% of the votes compared to Bawumia 41.3%. So we also understand that Bawumia has actually conceded, to the results of the election. So it's only left for the umpire body now to formally declare that his rival won the election. But let's take our minds back to this Bawumia that has experienced defeat now in this election. Now, it was this same Bawumia that won the election from Akufo-Addo,
yes,
because the economy went bad, as it were then. Now, what happened? How come he couldn't rescue the economy, for the past a few years that he has been there, to the extent that he's losing the election?
Well, he may not have the wherewithal to start with. The campaign is one thing. To deliver is another thing. So we need a lot of grooming. We have seen examples like that in Nigeria. You say, okay, they will make a lot of noise, and when they get to the seat of power, they may not be able to deliver. That's what I believe that the opposition did. They couldn't raise the bar from where they took over. And in that case, people were disenchanted. And the beauty of it all is that they were disenchanted, and they played it out in the vote against the government. And the government were able to congratulate far ahead before the announcement. It was like a playback of our 2015
presidential election.
Yes. Yeah. That's something that is very uncommon in Nigeria. or in Africa, people sticking tenaciously to power. They don't want to release power. Even in the face of obvious defeat, they will say we are going to court, because the whole system is compromised. But these ones, you call the guy, say, no, I congratulate you. Nobody will now go to court and be wasting money and fighting. We have to be introspective. We must look inside and see. I commend the guy that congratulated the opposition. He himself has viewed everything and found that he really lost the battle. So that's where we are. If all of us follow that trend, there will be people, the government of the day will want to deliver on his mandate, because he knows that the power belongs to the people. If they don't deliver, the people will vote them out. That is the trend that I really admire in the whole system. It's not that because I belong to a particular party, I'm going to win, whether we like it or not. You know the kind of thing we hear outside in our country, we say, they have already won. There's nothing anybody can do about it. Whereas, if we are enlightened enough, we'll be able to see and enforce that we have a right to choose our leader.
Okay. All right. So if we have those videos now, we have some videos that Emmanuel Akbaloho sent from Ghana. If we have the videos, we can let them roll back stage, back screen drop, so that our viewers out there will also have a feel of the election. Now, Professor, let's look at the election one more time, because we're trying to make a comparison,
yes,
with what is going on, what seems to be the present situation in international politics, comparing politics, internationally, looking at politics internationally. Now, who are we going to be praising now? Is it the incumbent that says that, okay, I lost I lose the election, let it be? Or it is the institution that stands firm to ensure that, look, the result of the election has to be what the people voted? Or it is the people that blind their eyes against anything to say that, look, this is what we want in the election and it must be? Who do we praise, in all these three categories of, people now?
See, if the people did not vote according to their conscience is monitored by what they are feeling, the kind of problem they are facing in the country, then there is nothing they shy away from going to vote for their particular candidate that they are convinced will deliver. There's nothing the process can do about it. But again, they say it takes two to tango. We cannot also remove the electoral process that is able to accommodate the electorate and say with all fairness that this is the way they voted, and is able to announce so. But we must also commend the incumbent, because the incumbent is very powerful. He can use forces to muzzle the Electoral Commission.
The institutions.
The institutions themselves. I say, you have to declare it like this or something will happen. And they will declare it like that, and they will not compromise the courts that people will run to. So the three of them, they may not score equal marks, but they have played a very good role in the process of this election.
Okay. All right. So the program is still Africa Discourse on independent television, and we are looking at Ghana's election that happened on Saturday. And of course, by Sunday, the results started coming in. The result may not have been formally declared, but we understand that the incumbent has already considered to defeat, that, okay, he lost, and so will it be. Now, we understand that Bawumia, to an extent, he tried to revive the economy, even sometime around 2 years ago. That was when Ghana actually had a bad economy, as it were. But for some months now, he has tried to put some palliative measures to see how he could bring back the economy and all that. Now, how come this still did not play out well for him?
It depends on the depth of the rot in the economy. a few months, a few palliatives will not do the trick. See, let me just take us back to our country. When the present government came in, he told us that the subsidy is gone. Many of us just believe that it's going to be a temporary thing. But from day to day, things are spiraling out of control. So maybe that is what happened in Ghana there. They say, okay, we are going to float a new exchange rate and all that one. It's not working as far as we are concerned. The incident is on us as a people. So no matter, it will take, because the antecedents are there. The government will promise that it's going to do this one. If it does this one, something else will happen. You will be comfortable. They will start bringing out and reeling out different policies that don't make any impact on the people. So probably that's what happened in Ghana. Just because it's coming to election period, he started rolling out some palliative measures. Those things are at the surface. They are the surface. They are not deep. If a government comes on board, that's why it's good to vote for somebody who is prepared to work. Because you remember our former president, Buhari, he used a large chunk of the time he had to be complaining about the government that handed over government. Where is your own? No? So if a government is prepared to work, from day one, you'll be able to do things that will impact on the people. So that even if the people are still feeling bad about the situation, but they will know with a few signs that, oh, change is imminent, so we can bear with the government. But if you try one trick, another one is not working, what do you expect the people to do? So how long? All the way from Obasanjo, when we were owing so much billions of dollars, we have been saying, tighten your belt, tighten your belt, tighten your belt. And the belt has even cut. There is no improvement. So it could be a similar scenario. What is painful about Ghana's one is that Ghana was already propped up. It was coming alive. It was doing well. And suddenly, it took a nosedive. And the people didn't feel happy about it.
All right, so Professor Igbenedion, now let's begin to look at the lessons that we can begin to learn from Ghana's situation now. Yeah. I mean, because most times when we talk about political developments and all that in the Western world, when it comes to Africa, people seem not to have any hope. I mean, we are beginning to have a situation. It happened in 2015 in Nigeria, incumbent losing the election, and of course 2024 is happening in Ghana. Now, are there lessons? What does this show? Is it a sign of progress?
Certainly. As I said earlier, it is very refreshing that this kind of thing is happening in Africa. Instead of waging war against the people say, see, we don't want you. This is whom we want. You leave it for them. Because that is the whole purpose of democracy. When you now seize the situation and say, no, I'm the one in charge. There's nothing anybody, you did not win. Let him go to court. You know, that's the slogan in Nigeria, go to court. No. So, if we see this kind of trend going on, it will affect us. It may not be immediate, but gradually. They say, after all, the other man considered defeat the other day. The other man considered defeat the other day. See, left with the incumbent himself, he will know deep down inside of him that he probably has not done well. That's why he lost. But he's surrounded by cronies, different cronies who are benefiting from the system, and they don't want to leave. After all, they are not the one to be held responsible. There are lots of people making billions out of government, but you will not see their faces. So the buck stops at the table of the incumbent. He will now say, look, I think I've had enough. He may not even take anything out of there, but the people who have used him, they will have humongous wealth in the system. So again, when he leaves, they use the money to manipulate the system so that they can put their people there. So for me, as a person, it's a very good development. That it shows that there is hope, that we will not be languishing in perpetual penury as a result of mismanagement of the economy. Because we have a reference guide that this thing, as you said at the beginning, is like a global trend. We cannot just say it, absolutely yet. But things are beginning to happen. And we are having some show of it in Africa. So we should appreciate that we are not going to be languishing in perpetual poverty, that things will change. In other words, even if we vote in error and we think that this person will do well, or this party will do well, and they are not doing well, the next election, we have opportunity to vote them out.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So while we're still waiting for Emmanuel Akpalolo to reestablish a connection here with us, now please, if we can have those videos, we can let them roll so that our viewers out there will have a better understanding of our discussion this afternoon. Now, we also understand that the frustration, talking about Mahama now, the frustration that he once, had, made him almost to lose interest in election. Now, sometime in 2017, Mahama, he served as president from 2012 to 2017 and had previously faded into presidential bids. So it's almost likened to former President Muhammadu Buhari, who contested for about three times, and about the fourth time he got it. Now, I think this is a way of letting people know that it is not over until it is over. You may want to talk about that, talking about politicians that, are desperate about power, that look, it is not a matter of trying it once. You may want to talk about that.
Yes, I'll talk about it. It's not necessarily that the politician, the person who is interested in the power, may have given, it's possible he has given up. But there are certain qualities that the people see in him is antecedent, I will say again, that will make them to go and encourage him. Maybe out of selfish reason, in the case of Buhari, they use him to play a trump card that, he was a disciplined man, he was everything. They didn't factor his age at that time, at this time now, from that time to this time. So he was highly hyped that he would make the difference. But they didn't know the depth of the intricacies of government of the present time and politics.
So was that why you think he didn't do
as
expected?
Yes. He was not propped up. They come. We are going to float you.
Okay.
They have to organize themselves. If you start from the beginning and put processes in place that are organized, it will flow. It will be growing like that, growing like that. We cannot give up and say we can't do anything about it. You put something here today, tomorrow the whole thing scatters. You say, because we are a large country and so on. We should not, see, people must take responsibility for their actions. They must be taking responsibility. And the leader must have the mind to enforce responsibility, enforce law and order. If you go wrong, you pay for it. That is what happens. I used to remember, what's that your man in Manara town who is in the US now?
Oh, I feel so.
We say, look, there is nothing human being cannot do. They also misbehave there in the US. But they pay dearly for it.
Yeah.
When you ask them to take responsibility and they fail, there are sanctions for them. So they have to maintain. So that is what is wrong with our country.
Okay. Now, on a final note now, what do you think Nigeria as a nation can perhaps thinking of? What should we be thinking of now for us to have better elections in Nigeria?
It is better elections that will put the people in place. The right people in place. So again, I will go back. If you put a process in place, and the processes, you don't put sanctions for the people who violate the process, then they go on that way.
Yeah, but don't we have our laws? We have our electoral laws. And
we have these laws, and everything is like, no. the person who takes the courage, you say our president is saying that, okay, he's going to deal with these terrorists, so and such a time. He's not saying like that. He's going to fish them out and deal with them. Let's see how it pans out. You don't just say things and leave it like that. You say, hey, that's the way they have been saying it before. Nothing they happen. Let something happen. If something happens, people will now fall in place, fall in line and obey.
All right, we'll draw the curtain here, and we want to say a very big thank you to Professor Victor Igbenedion from Vocational and Technical Education, University of Benin, for joining us on the program.